There you go, health and safety, very important, Darren. Welcome back again to One Man and His Quad, and it's part 2 of Project T. It is our Conway Corniche, which we have got some grand plans for. Details on that in a future video, but today the plan is to strip everything down from the top downwards to get to the bare chassis and prepare it for some rust proofing, which arrived this morning. We're then going to red oxide primer it, and then we're going to probably put something like wax oil under seal or something like that on the actual frame itself. I've got a few plans. I need to take a few measurements in terms of the axle, but first off we're going to start taking off the wood and the panelling and go from there. I've had a quick look online over the past last few days and actually found this trailer could be anything up to 40 years old. I've had a quick look, and by the looks of the colouring on it and the logo, the Conway logo there, which they changed back in the mid-80s, it could be a 1980-81 model. We're in 2020 at the moment. What you see in front of you could be a 40-year-old trailer tent, and the condition it is in is brilliant. So what we're going to do first is take everything off, as I was saying. We're going to carefully do that. We're not going to take a sledgehammer to it. We're not going to destroy it, because the aim is hopefully at least put some of it back together. I mean, the timbers up the top there, which have been added, are not in bad nick, so we could reuse them again. So we're going to start. We're going to put the time lapse on. You're going to see me do all the work, and then we're going to go from there. So that's what has so far come off it, and it's like a different day this afternoon. The sun's come out. All the blind rivets have finally been drilled out with the assistance of this little one. Did you enjoy that, Erin? Exactly. So we've got all the blind rivets out. As you can see, it's starting to come away from the chassis. I'm a bit concerned about my floor. Not quite as good, especially around the edges, what I thought it might be. And now we've got some of these bolts just to drill out, or at least and hopefully to come off. I mean, they're so rotted they should literally fall off. There are the blind rivets. Everything's had a good dose of WD-40 on top of it. including the axles there, which hopefully they're going to be salvageable, we hope so. And once these bolts are off, everything should just drop away and basically just fall apart and leave me a chassis, which thankfully has got some legs down there. I don't know whether you can see because of the shadow. Right, we'll put the time lapse back on and we will continue. So it's the end of day one. We're going to finish here for today, but as you can see, we've got relatively far. I say day one. It's been one of those days where we've been interrupted. The sun is beautiful. I'm going to go on the side there because I'm casting a massive shadow over the trailer. But as you can see, we're pretty much there. All that's been held on now is that aluminium frame, the 2 bolts at the back, which I'm going to angle grind off tomorrow. And unfortunately, the floor, even though it was pretty solid in the middle towards the edge, was really starting to rot out. So that's now over there, and it's going to be a case of another piece of new plywood to go over it. But whilst the floor's out and whilst we're thinking about changing the floor, I want to change the track of this trailer. I want to make it wider and bring the trailer out. I'm going to take some measurements. So the tyres here sit out here, which should involve unbolting the axles there and the hubs and putting a larger piece of box section in. That is the plan. Again, I'm going to take measurements for that tomorrow. I'm going to tidy it all up a bit, grind it down, and the rust inhibitor arrived this morning in the post, so that's the job for tomorrow. So that's the next scene you're going to see, but hopefully, fingers crossed, the weather is going to be as glorious as this. So it's day 2 of the dismantling of the Conway Corniche. As you can see, she's not in a very happy state at the moment, but we are nearly there, taking the chassis off. I've got 2 bolts to cut off now. We got to the stage yesterday where we've got all the rivets out. We've got a couple of the bolts out at the front and the 2 at the back. There's one there, there's one down there, are just not shifting. So we're going to take the heavy duty angle grinder to it and get rid of those. Chassis all not looking too bad. There's a bit of extra corrosion down here which we're going to need to fix. So we've got the point here and we've got this point here. Again, a bit of a steel angle should sort that job out. The floor's come away. That is now scrap. We're going to get some more ply, some 10mm plywood, hopefully the next time we go into town. So the job today is to take the rest of the aluminium sheet body off. As you can see, we've got a pile of parts again in the wheelbarrow today, and grind back the chassis ready for the rust inhibitor to be put on, hopefully a little bit later on today. Hopefully not going to take too long. We're going to time lapse the whole thing again. So yeah, let's crack on. As you can see, full PPE here. Like this. It's not a respirator mask. I think these are the yesterday. We call them the Fong masks because of their skimpy type. I forget. I'm going to take these glasses off. I can't see what I'm doing. So as you can see, the sides are now off the trailer. We are down to a bare frame. A bit of a problem, wrong size cutting discs for the angle grinder, so I had to use a grinding disc, so it meant it took a bit more time than expected, but everything's off now. You can see the chassis in full. Good news is the outriggers there at the back, they're in pretty good shape. I think I slightly bent one, but I've managed to bend it back. As I said, the ones at the front going to take a little bit of repair, but everything's off now. I'm going to chuck all this into storage. We're just going to prepare the area which needs the JB weld on first with the grinding disc, and then we're going to get the flap disc on the grinder, and then we're going to go from there and neaten up all the chassis, flip it over as well, and then start putting the rust treatment on. So all looking good so far. So the wind's got up, but we have finally finished sanding down. I say sanding, you eagle-eyed of you may have noticed, it was in fact a grinding disc. It was just so covered in rust, but we've got most of the heavy surface rust off. What's left is just a light dusting, which the rust treatment will treat, which we're going to do next. It's obviously on its back now. I haven't done the hubs because there are plans to sort of change the track of this trailer slightly, which may mean they come off, but if we do end up using them, I can actually tidy them up when they're off the trailer itself. So it's time to coat in the rust treatment, which should be a relatively quick job, considering the grinding's taken about an hour and a half in total to get it to this stage. But yeah, progress is being made. So whilst this is just drying, I wanted to give you an indication of what this is. We've all seen hammerite crust, and we all know what it does. It actually turns rust into a paintable surface. And this stuff, because hammerite crust, you may know, only comes in quite small bottles. I went on eBay and I found this. It's a Neutrarust 661 rust converter. It comes in a 1 litre bottle. And it's just the same as the hammerite stuff. It's been approved by NATO and the Ministry of Defence, so it must be good stuff, and it does exactly the same thing as crust. As I say though, it comes in a litre bottle. I think the biggest one you can get for crust currently is 250, maybe 500ml. So if you're doing a project like this, and it does go quite far, it's got to be said, it's worth doing. Typical application, it goes like a milky creamy colour, it then turns blue. Once it turns blue, I'm just going to go around and brush everything where it's built up, because blue usually means there's quite a lot of material still on the surface, and then eventually when it starts to dry like it's done there leading to the toe hitch, it turns black. The actual stuff itself, similar formulation. I find it slightly thicker and it goes on slightly nicer than crust, it's got to be said. But have a search on eBay for rust converter, and yeah, it's worth a purchase. That I think it's about 25 quid a bottle, but that's going to last us an awful long time, especially if you've got old things, old bits of steel and any sort of old iron really that you need to refresh. It's always a good investment. So that's Neutrarust 661 rust converter there, guys, and say I'll try and put a link, or at least a description, in the description box below. There you go, health and safety, very important, Darren, especially when you're using stuff. I can take those off now because we have actually finished. well, I say finish, we've done the rust treatment. Touch dry in 15 to 45 minutes depending on application. When it is touch dry, it will go black. If it's still wet, it will go blue. It's just like crust. Someone is getting very, very fed up of being out here in the wind. So we're going to wrap this video up here for today, guys. Hope you found it quite informative. It's quite a simple video. We've taken panels off, we've ground the rust, and we've treated the bare metal, but hey, it might prove useful for someone. Next time we're going to be putting the chassis into red primer, and then we're going to use some stone chip or waxy oil treatment. I still haven't made that decision yet. As usual, make sure you like us and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Those are our two main social media channels, as well as YouTube. You have seen us obviously on here because you're watching that video. Just search One Man and His Quad, and I will catch you next time, guys. Stay safe, and bye from Erin. Bye, Erin.